Hi, my name is Mike Aben and welcome to Children of a Dead Earth, a realistic take on a space combat simulator. And what we are doing in this series is going through each of the campaigns and going for gold on each of them. And what's up today is this one here, Lagrange Point Graveyard. Rendezvous a rescue craft to a disabled ship in Mercury's fourth Lagrange point before it runs out of food. So we are in orbit about Mercury. We're going to have to do this. We have a limited time, limited delta V, and a high gravitation. With Mercury compared to where we've been, I guess that is a high gravitation. And we actually have to deal with the sun because we're going interplanetary on this one. But anyway, let's take a look at the records we need to break in order to achieve gold. We need to do this in less than 1 month. Seems funny, the last one was in, we had to do it in a certain number of minutes. Now we're into months and 28 days. That's because we're going interplanetary. And we have to do this with less than 11.8 kilometers per second of delta V. And we're going to, on this one, go for both of them at the same time. This is another one where it is possible to do them both at the same time. So let's skip by the briefing. And actually, let's disable this. And let's take a quick look at Lagrange points and talk a little bit about it. So this is, we're in orbit about Mercury here. We'll take a look at our craft. Well, let's take a look at our craft right now. This is us, we're this methane tanker. Okay, we're in orbit around Mercury. We have a ton of delta V, but we're only allowed to spend I guess a little more than half of it to get to where we are, because we have to fuel up this guy, this gunship way up here. He is out of fuel in orbit. We have to get there before their life support runs out. Okay, so let's get back to, let's select this way. Back to our tanker. Let's talk a little bit about Lagrange points. So we have a little toggle up here, I haven't talked about this, where you can toggle on and off the Lagrange points. They come up as these little X's. And actually there's Lagrange points for all kinds of objects, but we're going to focus on just the ones Mercury. They kind of all do kind of work the same. Let's look at it from this view. There we go. Okay, so this is Lagrange point number 4 right here, and our gunship is in this sort of kidney-shaped orbit about Lagrange point number 4, which is actually pretty realistic as to what the orbit would be like. Lagrange 4 has a matching one over here called Lagrange point number 5. And let's go actually over the rest of the Lagrange points. There's a total of 5 of them. So let's take a look at Lagrange point number 1 and Lagrange point number 2. To see them, we have to come in pretty close to Mercury. So this is Lagrange point number 1 between Mercury and the Sun, which is over here. Lagrange point number 2, about the same distance on the opposite. And by the way, these are on a line. If you join Mercury to the Sun, these two are on a line, on that line between them. And then there is Lagrange point number 3 on the opposite side of the Sun, also on the same line. And then, like I mentioned, Lagrange point number 4 and Lagrange point number 5. By the way, 4 and 5, if you join the Lagrange point to Mercury to the Sun, you make a triangle. That is an equilateral triangle, a triangle where all the sides are of the same distance. That's how you can find where Lagrange points 4 and 5 are. And just a last point on Lagrange points. 4 and 5 are actually the only ones that are sort of pseudo-stable. In other words, that you can put an object about them and it can stay there for quite some time. And that's why Lagrange points 4 and 5 tend to be collectors of junk. If you look at Earth's Lagrange points 4 and 5, interplanetary dust tends to collect here, and there is at least one small asteroid in orbit around, I can't remember, 4 or 5. Earth's Sun Lagrange point 4 or 5 has a small asteroid in orbit about it. Bigger planets like Jupiter and Saturn really collect a lot of junk in their Lagrange points 4 and 5. Lagrange points 1, 2, and 3 don't tend to be very stable, though we do have satellites in Earth, Sun's Lagrange points 1 and 2. Lagrange point number 2 in relation to Earth Lagrange point 1, that's the one I'm pointing at, tends to be used for planets or satellites that are are observing the sun. Solar observatories are often put in Lagrange point number 1. And Lagrange point number 2 is a favorite spot for satellites that are designed to study the rest of the galaxy and the universe. They want to look away from the sun. For instance, the Planck telescope is in, the Planck Observatory is in Lagrange point number 2. Anyway, why don't we get on to what we need to do? So we need to get ourselves out there. So let's get in on our craft. Zoom in here a little bit. There we go. Set up a trajectory. And what we need to do, I know it's not completely obvious, but in the amount of time we're going to take to get to here, this Lagrange point will move around to here. We actually need to reduce our orbit a little bit. In order to reduce our orbit in relation to the sun, we need to eventually burn in a retrograde or against our motion around the sun. So we want to actually eject ourselves from Mercury going in this direction. Here's how we're going to do this. Now, technically, I should be able to just put a trajectory out here somewhere and just kind of burn that direction. But I found I had greater success is if I put my first trajectory here and reduce my periapsis with Mercury as low as I sort of dare. So let's kind of zoom in on that a little bit more. I want to point out as I'm doing this, if I can get my, there we go, if I can get these back, that this is not a gravity assist. To get a gravity assist, you actually have to enter and then leave the sphere of influence of a particular body. So this is not a gravity assist. That's good enough. One thing this does do is speed me up, so I'll get there faster, and time is part of the equation, so it's a useful thing to do. And that's actually, I guess, the main reason I'm doing it. But I just found I just had greater luck setting up the trajectory by doing this first. I'm not 100% sure why. It definitely doesn't save me fuel. I will say that much. Okay, so we'll burn out in this direction a little bit. Then we'll zoom out, and you can see our trajectory is a little bit wonky. So what we're going to do is we're going to select our frame of reference for our trajectories to be the sun, and this gives us a nice, this is what our orbit's going to be after we leave Mercury. Also notice that when I do that, these pull handles change. Their reference change. If I do it to Mercury, it's prograde, radial, and normal compared to my trajectory about Mercury. But if I change this to the sun, now this is prograde, retrograde with reference to the sun, and normal reference to the sun, and radial reference to the sun. So that's kind of nice. So what I need to do is burn retrograde in reference to the sun, bring this orbit down. I'll change this to the point where you can start to see. And actually here, you know what, let's stop before I get, now you can start to see, let's look at what, if I follow this forward in time, now you can see what that Lagrange point is doing and why I'm doing this the way I am. You can see I'm aiming to kind of meet around here somewhere. Okay, so let's get back to this. Again, more retrograde, slow ourselves down more, reduce our orbit until we see, there it is. That's what I'm looking to see, one of these indicators there. So I'm getting close, and that is in 1 month and 15 days, which is underneath our time, but I gotta dial it in closer than that. So what I'm going to change now is my trajectory reference frame to the gunship that we're trying to rendezvous with. And now here's our trajectory relative to that gunship. And what I really want to zoom in on, whoa, is I want to get this rendezvous indicator right on the ship itself. Remember what this does is it now kind of treats this as being stationary. So if I can get this onto this, that means our trajectory is exactly matching that. So I'm going to try and keep zoomed in on this while at the same time I want to see all those pull handles. So let's see what this does. We'll pull this way. Oh, yeah, that's getting it closer that way. That looks pretty good. Zoom in a little bit closer. I can see I need to pull it in a positive normal direction as well. So we'll go this way. Whoops. Negative normal. I lied. There we go. Oh no, that is positive normal. Get that backwards. See if we can, and it just takes, you have to look at it from different perspectives. Zoom in, because I really want to get this as close as I can. Oh my gosh, that is getting pretty close. Maybe, again, got to get that There, I wanted that blue handle. Come maybe this way a little more. Got it from a different perspective. Wow, that ain't bad. Okay, and next, now let's actually click on it and attempt to do a rendezvous to join the gunship. And we plotted it successfully. A couple of bad things. It's going to take 2 months and 32 days, and it's taking a total of 16 kilometers per second of delta V, and I'm only allowed to spend 11.8 kilometers per second. So that's not gold on either of those, so let's delete that. And in fact, to get gold, what we need to do is kind of, again, cheat, I think, a little bit. This was a few episodes ago. If we can actually sort of hit it, it doesn't take into account our relative velocities. And again, we have to cheat a little bit. So I'm going to come a little bit ahead of my encounter here. Do a join here. And a lot of crazy, but the thing to notice here is a lot of the burns are happening after that. So that's not good, so we'll delete that. And again, this is going to take a little bit of hunting and pecking until you sort of just happen to get lucky. $17, that's getting smaller. $17 still. A little further this way. $18, that's gotten bigger. Ooh, look at that. And yes, this is kind of annoying. And I wish it wasn't this sort of kind of randomness you need to do. Okay, that's 18. Let's try again. Again, this is just hunting and pecking. 17. Let's try a little more this way. Until you happen to just luck into it. And I will most certainly be doing some editing of this video because geez, that one seems really close. Come on. Oh my lord. There it is. And that took, I did not count them, that took a frustratingly large amount of clicks. But you can see now, we are intercepting here. Now notice that our velocity difference is 15.2 kilometers per second. So we're crashing into them at 15.2 kilometers per second, but the game doesn't care because according to it, we are just spending 4.1 kilometers per second to get there, and we are meeting there in 1 month and 17 days, which is underneath the 1 month and 28 days that are required. So all that is left is to just move this along forward. Let's see. Let's first watch our ejection from Mercury. So let's move to here and select and zoom in so we can actually watch this. There we go. So here we come. How long? We're going to be here in... So let's select us. Large methane tanker. That's us. There we go. So we're going to be here in 2 days. So let's go by days. Here we go. So we go, boom. Come in nice and close to Mercury. Zip around Mercury. Now let's zoom out. And let's watch the rest of this from perspective of Sol, the sun, because I think this gives us a more realistic of what's going on. We'll go up to the maximum time of 6 days, because it's going to take us a while to get there. So we're coming in nice and close. Well, not nice and close, but closer to the sun, whipping around, coming in. And bong, mission successful. And you can see here we did this in 1 month and 17 days underneath, and we did this in 4.06 kilometers per second, way under what the record will be. Anyway, I hope this helps, and I hope to see you for the next one.